There's a song by one of my favorite bands, which is Modest Mouse, and it's called Other People's Lives. And the line in that song says, "Other people's lives seem more interesting because they ain't mine." Pretty much repeats the whole song. But there are a lot of other lyrics, of course, but when you hear that over and over, and that song, for instance, I think back in 2000 when I first got into Modest Mouse, uh, it's just always been kind of one of my favorite background songs, but it popped into my head and I was thinking about the meaning behind that song, which I have many times, but I wanted to use that as a title for this video because it's something I think we all share. And I don't know, I may be just declaring that from my own standpoint, but that not necessarily that other people's lives seem more interesting, but they are different than ours. And we start to question our paths, our integrities, our values, and our desires and dreams, and we compare those to other people's. And we should do that. As humans, we should compare ourselves to others to see if we appear to be as happy. If we're carrying around a particular belief or idea that's holding us back, and we see others who have let go of that, who seem happier, well then we owe it to ourselves to at least try that. And there's a lot of liberation that comes from letting go of dogmas and preconceived notions, not just about beliefs or religions or politics or anything that's just, within the belief realm, but we need to question everything about ourselves, I guess, is what I'm saying. And when we look at another person's life and we see that they appear happier, it's easy for us to kind of look over and be like, hey, how do I do that? And we really should. If we don't, then we are merely closing off to those ideas. But it's not always about ideas. We might look at another person's job and say, would I be happier at that job? A person who's working as a, maybe a landscaper, say maybe making $15 an hour, which that sounds like a lot for a lot of states. I know, I forget that we have the highest minimum wage in the country here, which is like, I don't remember how much it is right now, but I think it's like 10 or 11 bucks. And so, 15 an hour isn't a whole lot here for a landscaper, but let's just say you have a landscaper making 15 an hour. And he sees his buddy, who's the lawyer, who's making 150 an hour, 10 times his wage. And he asks himself, would he be happier with that money? With that amount of money? Of course. Who wouldn't be happier with more money? And often the person who's making less will use that feeling to feel like a lesser of a, like they want to make that kind of money without questioning whether the integrity and values that they uphold would still be upheld during being a lawyer for that particular person. In other words, are you better off with your job making 10 times less because you're happy than you would be at a job where you don't feel satisfied? My belief is that what you do in your life, as far as career, it doesn't always have to be something you absolutely love or are passionate about. You can create a passion about it. You just have to be good at what you do, and you have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy what you're doing. And we don't always have that option, that luxury. We have to work sometimes. But when we look to other people making a lot of money, it's not always the be-all, end-all of work, money. So we look at other people, we look at how they're doing, and that's just the monetary aspect of it. We know that rich people have more problems than poor people. Now, that's a very general statement. I'm not going to argue that point because I wouldn't say more problems. I would say just as many problems, okay? And what happens, this is my belief after talking with people who have money, as well as reading people who have talked about people who grew up with money talking about that situation. It appears that when you have all of your needs met, that more of them, just different needs, come forward, and a person starts to question whether, often they'll give everything away because they want to be able to work for what they have. They want to feel that satisfaction. So a person who has no money looks at a person who's rich and says they must be happy, while a person who's rich who doesn't know what to do with their money may say, God, I just wish I was poor. The grass is always greener on the other side, right? So when we look at other people and say, gosh, man, I wonder, I wish I could do that, or, we can. We have the potential to do what we want. We're not really held back by anything but our own thoughts. But we have to really think it through and question whether it's something we would want. But, well, let's take it to the spiritual realm for a minute. This is what's between religion and atheism, spirituality, whatever you want to call these things. I've noticed that there's the same type of problem seems to occur, where people look at another's life and say, this is what they believe. Would I be happier if I believed this? The extreme version is the atheist who becomes a born-again Christian. And the opposite end of that spectrum is the Christian who, at say 40 or 50, realizes they've been disillusioned and then becomes an atheist. They go to extremes, rather than a person who's maybe a believer going into a spiritual realm. They go into I don't want to hear it anymore, because they've stuck with one thing for so long. And I think if we pass through these little moments of life, these little what do you want to call them? I guess gates, where we start to move into another realm and see that it wasn't what it appeared. The way that I've been able to observe others and see if they're happy with what they think is by how fervently they push their views on others. And I think that really that's the main point of what I'm trying to make here, beyond that other people's lives aren't that much more interesting, that they have just the same amount of problems, but the ones who I believe have the people who have the least grip on life are the ones who push their views the most on others. Because a person who has a true grip on life, in my opinion, realizes that there are no firm answers. That not knowing is really what life is all about. And that even if we do derive our own conclusions about what life's about, if we're trying to impress that on others, it's only that we're trying to convince ourselves that it's true. And having other people think the way that we do makes us more comfortable. If one person can refer to an entire book and an entire following of a religion and say, look, this is what I believe is true, he believes that is enough to convince other people. Whereas a person who's creating their own belief system has absolutely nothing to fall back on except for their own awareness and sense. Which one is really more legitimate? A religion that billions of people believe, or a religion that's created by you as an individual that you believe? Is anyone more valid than the other? No, I don't think so. In other words, do you believe what you're told, or do you believe what you feel? And it's a difficult one for people to get past. But what I feel is that the grass is not greener on the other side. That no matter whose shoes you step into, or what situation you take, or how happy you think you'd be being a multimillionaire, the same problems are going to occur for each person. Not the same exact problems, but the same amount of problems. In other words, nobody I've ever met didn't face adversity. And thank goodness for that, because without adversity we would never move forward. It's the old balance of the good and evil, if you will. I'm not a dualist. I don't really believe in the dualism between good and evil as forces. I just believe that things happen, and how we interpret them can determine whether they're good or evil. There are certain things that people would argue is just straight evil, like murder. It's like, but what if you're murdering to save someone else? What if you're murdering to protect your family? Nothing's cut and dry, nothing's black and white, nobody really has it all figured out. Nobody has it all figured out. Not one person. So I've hit 10 minutes now, so I better go. Because I know my videos do get long, but they help me to process some of these things, and a few of my subs, everybody has their own particular interests in different subjects, and I just want to say it's good to have you all out there that help me with the reason, you know, because I popped up in the morning, and sometimes in the morning you think, am I, like, or for me, at night or in the morning I'll think, oh, why do I do this, or should I do this, or should I keep making videos? Sometimes I'll think, I should just close my YouTube account and not do that. It's a waste of time. But it's not a waste of time. You know what I mean? It's just that those thoughts occur to me, and I think, you know, okay, well, what else would I be doing with that time? You know, I'm already here. Could always be doing something differently, but the grass is always greener. There's always something else I could be doing. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. In other words, every night and every morning, I'm questioning all of the things in my life. Should I be better at this? Should I be working harder at this? Should I not be so obsessed with this? And then once the morning comes, I've had my coffee, I wake up and I think, no, everything's going along just fine. Just got to do a little bit of reprogramming every day to you know, cast off the chains of society's opinions and move along on my path. And as long as I don't meet too much resistance, I'll know that I'm on the right path. And that's really my only saving grace, is that idea of resistance. Because when I'm doing things wrong, I meet resistance. So I think we all could relate to that. So peace and namaste and all that love and light and goodness and fun shit that people talk about. Be yourself. Be yourself.